Everybody hear me? Let me know, please. Yes, no. I'm going to wait for a couple more people to get on here. All right, guys. Welcome to the Texas Prison Transparency Project, episode number 5. Tonight, we're going to talk about some of the news going on. Shannon's going to give you some more insight on some parole stuff and just have a lot for you guys. First things first, I did send an email out to all the wardens, regional directors, and Brian Collier, as well as Brian Patrick, about the upcoming winter storm, asking them to be proactive with plumbing, food supplies, water supplies, heat, blankets, jackets, boots, etc. I haven't got a single response this time, but like I said, I asked them to be proactive, so I don't really need a response as of yet. Tanya has also been CC'd on everything. Charlie Maloof has as well. So we'll see what happens. Second thing, you guys know my platform, and I'm known as kind of the K2 queen. There's been another uptake in K2 deaths, particularly this week, really in the last couple of days, at Hughes, Polonsky, and Connolly. I am waiting for these death reports to come in so that I can actually confirm this. With that being said, I don't know if anybody saw earlier in the week that there was a drone drop of methamphetamine that was intercepted at the McConnell units. Shannon, what do you know about drug trafficking inside?
It is pandemic. People are always looking for a way, any way you can dream of, and they dream up some really wild ways. A lot of them aren't even feasible, but anything that might work, they're willing to take a try. You know, the easiest route, the most assured route for most drug traffickers on the inside is the mule, which is either going to be a TDC guard who wants some extra money, or a teacher, a nurse, any staff member that you can imagine. There's no exceptions to the rule. Anybody is liable to be targeted and to see if they're susceptible to money. Because let's face it, so many people spend their lives every day chasing the almighty dollar, right?
So are these suppliers? Is it obvious? Like if you're on the wing, do you know, okay, that guy's bringing it in, or is it not obvious?
Only sometimes. Sometimes you are quite surprised. Sometimes it'll be an officer who is the most strict by the book officer there is. And people that are able to get someone like that, those are their favorite ones, because nobody will ever suspect it. They run around, they police stuff, they write cases on people, they're by the book, but all the while, and some of these people that seduce these officers and staff members to bring stuff, they tell them that directly. Like, you need to write cases. You need to appear to be this way so that nobody ever suspects this right here. So they tell them that.
Is it gang-led, or is it just random people?
No, it's not specific. There's plenty of gang members, but it's usually a one-on-one transaction. It's usually one individual who does the interaction, as they use in the lingo. They pull the officer or they pull the staff member, and they may or may not be a gang member.
Right.
It can be anybody.
What do you think about this drone scenario?
I've heard, even before I got out, I've heard a lot of people actually dreaming of the drone drops. They can fly over here. They can be over there, like on the other side of this field, controlling the drone, and they could drop it on the rec yard, and we can pick it up at breakfast time. Breakfast is like 4:00 in the morning. Sometimes 3:30 in the morning.
Like, you would think the pickets would see that.
Well, the towers. Towers around the unit, maybe, but it's pitch black outside. Yes, there's a lot of lights on the unit, but if a drone flies in above the lights and it has all the lights on the drone disabled, it's going to be almost impossible to see, And as long as it doesn't come down, into the field of light, if it drops it from up high, then, how are they going to see that?
Right.
And there's no escort whenever we're going to chow. Everybody's going to breakfast 3:30, 4:00, 4:30 in the morning. It's pitch black outside. No telling what the weather is. They might prefer bad weather. Let's wait till it's raining or storming, or so wait till it's really cold outside. The officer will be huddled up inside the picket in the tower. I mean, they think about it like that.
Well, I've done some research on it the last couple of days, and it's not these small drones that can bring it in, because most of those have an FAA block where they can't even go in a no-fly zone. So these have to be large drones that are very heard.
Does the FFA block apply to a drone that's not registered?
Well, from what I understand, they have a capacity that it's like a governor on them that will stop them from flying into no-fly zones.
Okay. So, and then again, it can't be too small of a drone because it has to be able to handle whatever weight they're putting on it.
Right.
And
have you personally ever seen this?
No, I just heard them daydream about the drone drops. I've seen a lot of different drug drops in prison, everything from different ways that the officers bring it in and different ways that they hand it out, to go in and do a cell search. And when they're done with the cell search, the inmate allowed to go back into the cell, and it'll be, on his bunk under the blanket. I've seen one guy come in with a drink, like a soft drink cup. And, when nobody was looking, he just popped the lid on the cup. And there was an ounce of weed inside the cup. Go ahead and grab that real quick. Yes, they are very creative.
So what's the most creative way you've seen?
There was a nurse. This might be I don't know about most creative, but perhaps there was a nurse. And the nurse, this was in a 12 building, administrative segregation. She would walk the run and pass out medication every day. And a real popular med, it's a cream that they pass out a whole lot for a bunch of different stuff. It's like a benzoyl peroxide. No, something. It's like an acne cream, right?
Benzoyl peroxide, yeah.
Yes, that's what it is. Okay. I never got it, but I've seen it a lot. And she would pass this, she'd have plenty of them. And whoever her individual is, she would just slide it under the little, we call it a rat hole in the bottom of the door. It's one of the only openings. And if you're on level 3 in ADSEG, they don't even have that opening. They have everything welded shut. I mean, it's the dungeon for real, right? Level 3 ADSEG is like the worst that the state of Texas has to offer you. Okay. Right. I've been there twice. Trust me. But on level 2 and level 1 in ADSEG, you have what we call the rat hole at the bottom of the door on the very side over here. Boom. And she'll just slide meds that don't fit through the screen. She'll just slide them in there. And she would slide the benzoyl peroxide packets in there. And of course, they'd be stuffed with dope. This is a nurse passing out medication. And so I've seen it that way too.
Right.
Well, bar screens. You know what a bar screen is? Where all the filthy water that gets flushed down the toilet passes through? Yes. Bar screens on every unit. They'll flush something in visitation. I heard them say, put it in a colorful condom. Get like a hot pink, lime green, whatever condom, something that you're going to be able to see in all of this sea of floating filth, right? Something that's going to stand out. Mm-hmm. Flush it, and the bar screen guy will get it. Pay him whatever to bring it in. Some units that won't work on because they have grinders, in the system between point A and the bar screen, and stuff like that will get ground up. But all units don't have them. So there's a lot of ways.
Do more visitors bring this stuff in, or is it staff?
I would say the vast majority is staff, especially anything in bulk. Visitation, sure, plenty of stuff comes in. Guys are always swallowing stuff and coming back and either forcing themselves to puke or passing it through the other way, and nasty business, but they don't care.
My last question on this topic, paper mail. Did getting rid of paper mail really help the problem?
Apparently not, is the easy answer. But
well, I mean, just from your experience, because I know you were a user.
I would say it, how would I put it? It hampered the flow. It hampered the supply, right? Because it shut down that highway, aside from the occasional legal mail and stuff like that.
Temporarily.
So that did maybe slow the supply, but at the same time, it doesn't seem like it, because like I said, I'm fresh out, and it didn't seem to slow down one bit. So
No,
I
I've
don't
had
know.
more reported deaths and more confirmed deaths in the last year than ever before.
And the paper mail hasn't been stopped that long. Maybe at certain units, but it's
But
slowly
since it's been
spread.
stopped, I've had more deaths confirmed
Yes.
than ever.
And that has to be coming in primarily through guards, secondarily through, visitation.
Right.
Primarily not, and it's not just guards. Like I said, oftentimes it's education staff, nurses. I mean, you name it. People that work in the chapel, volunteers. I mean, anybody they can get.
All right, everybody. There is a website and an app that is partnered with the University of Texas. It's called Texas Cope. I have been using it for the last year to start tracking overdoses in the system and out in the free world. Basically, it's an anonymous form. I have the app on my phone, and it will ask you pretty simple details of questions you just answer. And what it does is it tries to track overdoses in different areas of the state to see where these concentrated, I guess, bad batches are, or, it's kind of how they can tell where the most people are dying, what's being most effective. And it helps law enforcement try to tame it out in those areas. The prisons are an option. State and county jails are an option on there as well, because certain people are mandated reporters, but we all know they're not reporting. I mean, they're just not. So that it helps us kind of deal with that. Okay, so this morning I posted something about the Sunset Commission has recommended that the state close 10 units down in order to help remedy the short staff problem. But is that smart? Like, what are you going to do with them?
Exactly. Where are you going to put them all? You're already talking about how overcrowded you are, how the county jails are backed up. Apparently, they're even farming out, inmates in county jails to counties in other states like Louisiana just for holding capacity.
So is TDC.
That's what I'm talking about. TDC. Oh, TDC as well as counties. Okay. So if you shut down 10 units, where are you going to put these people? It doesn't make no sense. Are you going to start actually using your parole system more like they've been telling you to for the last 10 or 15 years? We're not building no more units. It's going the other direction, so use your system. Okay.
Right.
One idea. I'm waiting to see if they actually start doing what a lot of county jails are doing. They use what we refer to as a lowrider. When all the bunks are full, they give you a little lowrider, a frame that sits about 8 inches off the floor, and put your mattress on that. And you'll have them strung all the way out wherever there's open space at. Are they really going to start doing that?
Well, maybe. I mean, they can't even get everybody mattresses right now, so I don't know how they'll do that. I don't know what the solution is. If you had to close units, which units would you close?
The red brick units need to go. They are old. They are decrepit. The piping is horrible. The electrical is horrible. Everything's outdated, moldy. They have the worst pest and rat infestations. Like we joke about the rats on red brick units, like Darrington is a good example. Darrington is infamous for its rat population. They say you open your locker and there'll be a rat in there eating your corn chips, and he just looks at you like, what are you going to do about it? And like, they're not even scared of you. Okay. And these aren't mice. These aren't mice. These are rats. Okay. A lot of units have mice. Only a few units, well, relatively few, have actual rats, and they are not scared of humans. You'll see a rat dragging your corn chips down the run. Like, yeah, I'm taking these. Like, come on.
I've heard the birds are a pretty big problem too in some of these units.
Birds.
Oh,
they get inside too. Yes. The glass house, all the glass windows that are broke out that we talk about, that the reason why we're freezing in the wintertime, because all these windows are broke out. Yes. Plenty of birds and such get inside like that. Cats are pandemic in penitentiary. Really? Everywhere. Every unit you go to has unit cats, and they're like, most of them are pretty domesticated. They're friendly. They're begging for food, and people feed them all the time. People actually buy packs of fish off commissary.
There's some prisons that have like cat programs in there, like cat and dog programs for Humane Society, where the inmates take care of them.
The dog programs for sure.
No, there's the one that has a cat program too. It's pretty sweet, actually.
I hadn't heard about that.
So maybe.
And oftentimes it's kind of strange, kind of a little rough, but inmates treat the cats and such better than they treat other inmates. Absolutely, easily, hands down.
Yes. I can agree to that. What do you think about these inmate firefighters in California?
Woo! I have a couple of mixed thoughts on it. My first thought, and maybe I'm a bit altruistic, a bit of a romantic, what have you, but my first thought is, man, it's a heroic deed they're doing,
Sure.
And it really, maybe it ties back to my first big awareness of 9/11 was after the fact, because I was like 18 years old on medium custody on the French Robertson unit. I was at war every day. Everybody always asked the question, where were you on that day? And I had to like really think hard about it and track it down, because it just didn't really hit me until later when I was in SEG listening to it on the radio, and the firefighters is what I heard about. They said over something like 350 or more firefighters died just trying to dig people out of the rubble. Mm-hmm. And thinking about that really hit me hard, right? I was like, man, the sacrifice that these people made. So I kind of make that tie with, I know these inmates don't have a lot of choice in the matter, but some of them probably volunteer and want to help.
Well, I did watch a social media post that some of the men were talking about, being that they were fighting these fires, that when they got out, their records were going to be expunged.
That's something worth fighting for.
It also helped them carry over their licensing to actually become firefighters in the free world. I do know, after speaking to a former officer this past week, from what I understand, her father was a part of the Texas Forestry Service, and she said TDCJ used to have a program that they sponsored training these guys, and then as soon as training was done, they got rid of it.
Oh, wow.
So, and we do have fires here. Yeah, we do. It's been a while. She said it's been a while, but
so
I think that's a great program.
My first thought is that, man, what these guys are doing is pretty heroic. Now, what their incentive is, I don't know. Most states in the union, they pay inmate for inmate labor. It might not be much, but they pay the inmate something. Texas is one of the only states in the union that doesn't pay the inmate nothing. That's why we say slave labor is alive and well here in the state of Texas, in TDCJ, the so-called prison industrial complex, right? Because you don't get paid, but if you refuse to work, they will punish you. So that's coercion. And
it's my understanding that when the fires began, they were not being paid, and then it hit the media pretty hard.
Got that pressure.
The last I saw a news article on it, they were starting to pay them like $10 and I want to say 82 cents a day. I mean, it wasn't a whole lot, but then they started getting the perks like expunction, certification after release.
But it took media input. It took outside pressure in order to make them people do anything. It's always like that.
You could say it always is.
Because they're scared. They're scared to death of their reputation, even though everybody knows it's a horrible and corrupt institution across the board, pretty much across the nation. They still, whenever the media gets involved and the media is criticizing, and finally they'll scramble. Just like an inmate on the inside can never get no help most of the time, vast majority of the time, can never get no help with a matter unless he has loved ones who will actually call up to the unit and put outside pressure on these people. That's the only thing that they will respond to. Another thing on the inmate firefighters, though, the heroism and the altruism and all that good stuff, that, in my mind, that applies whenever you're working to try to save people. If I'm trying to help prevent people from being harmed, now that's a great deed. I'm all the way down for that. But they say these guys are just like saving people's mansions and stuff. It just depends on how dangerous it gets and when to pull out. Because if all you're fighting for is somebody's property that's much less like this millionaire or billionaire who has 5 different properties, and you shouldn't be willing to
They
sacrifice
don't have
your
a choice,
life.
though. They're being told to do that.
Yes. There's always a point where you can refuse, even if there's consequences. But it shouldn't come to that. The people that
No.
are in charge, when it gets to be life-threatening circumstances, they should be responsible enough, have enough integrity to pull these guys back.
Right.
Okay, this is too far gone. Just withdraw, and we'll make another fire line.
Right. No, I agree. I agree. And Jay, yes, I 1,000,000% agree. The fact that we do need to reform the 13th Amendment. Very, yeah, we'll get together on that. That's a big one. That's a big one. All right. So the next thing is I want to thank every single one of you guys. We hit 20,000 followers on the troll page today, or actually yesterday. When we started these projects last February, March, something like that, we had no clue if it was even going to work. In fact, people called us crazy, threatened us, threatened to sue us.
Imagine
told me that my child was going to get retaliated against, and all kinds of just craziness. It has been the best thing that I think has come of the system in a year. It has brought so much to light. So many people have gotten involved, and we couldn't have done it without you guys. So really, thank you. We're barely getting started. So I've got a couple of people that have kind of teamed forces up with me behind the scenes that are amazing, amazing people. And I couldn't do it without them. So you know who you are. Thank you. And now your turn. Over to you.
That's me. Hi, everybody. First thing I would like to talk about tonight is today, December the 16th, 30 days free.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I feel wonderful. I feel great. Man, I'm so happy to be out finally. Pretty much 25 years, not even counting juvenile before that. That's, man, it's so sad. I hate to think about it, to tell you the truth. I really don't even like admitting how long I was really incarcerated for, because I went to TYC when I was 14, did 18 months with a short little break and another 18 months. So that's 3 years. And then, right into TDC I caught the case when I was 17, turned 18 years old in county jail, and hit French Robertson unit, medium custody, 18 years old, the year 2000. Right. And it was go time. It was rock and roll from there on out, like for the next 10 years. And, so, it's been a hard road, thankfully, or how do I like to put it? Unfortunately, I grew up in prison, but I did grow up. Not everybody can say that, I did actually grow up. I finally matured, got my thought process on the right track. And, I changed my life. I built myself from the inside out. That's a monumental task. And it's very hard for so many people on the inside, because you're surrounded by so many horrible influences every moment of every day. Right. Mm-hmm. But, and it's a work in progress. That's kind of my description for life itself. Life is a work in progress every day. It doesn't matter what point you're at in your life. No, it's always a work in progress, so I'm celebrating, today is 30 days on the outside, and I'm blessed, man. I love it. I go to work every day, sometimes 7 days a week, but I even love that. I don't mind at all. I actually enjoy myself. I have yet to find a single moment of boredom. It just doesn't exist, at least not yet. And I don't imagine it will for quite a while. Right. So many things to do, so many practical things that I need to do, which kind of stresses me and gives me anxiety to one extent and another. And at the same time, so many things that I want to do just for joy and pleasure and curiosity, and so many things I've never experienced yet in my life. Just so many things that are brand new to me. Right. And everything brand new has that shiny new allure to it. Right. So I'm just looking forward to so much stuff, and I've been forced to take it very slow, because I have this this GPS monitor strapped to my leg. Matter of fact, it's on the charger right now. Look how big the charger is, y'all. That's the charger that hooks up to my GPS monitor, right? The rest of the monitor's about that tall, So yeah, it's like, I call it my little microwave. It's like a little microwave on my ankle. But if that's what it costs for me to be on this side of the fence, okay, so be it. Whatever it takes, I'm willing.
Can you just explain to them kind of the requirements you've had to do with parole so far and what your limitations are and kind of what to expect for people?
Okay. So I'm on what they call SISP, Super Intensive Supervision Program. Okay. It's the highest level of supervision that they have. Super intensive. I mean, wow, that sounds horrible, right? And that means the GPS monitor. They track where I'm at every moment of every day and night. And I've even seen the photos that they print out to show you were right there at that gas station. That's you right there where the arrow is.
True
and I'm
story,
talking about whatever satellite they have, it like puts Google Maps to shame. Okay. I don't know what they use, but it's pretty incredible.
True. I witnessed it at the parole hearing. Trust me, it is true. I didn't believe it.
So yeah, it scared me to death. I'm not going to try anything, right? But so anything that I want to do, like I'm 30 days out, and I've taken 2 leisure appointments or scheduled 2 leisure outings to date, and that is it. Let me explain the difference. I'm only allowed at this point in time, starting out, I'm allowed 8 hours a week of so-called leisure time. Like if I want to go do something for fun, if I want to go to the movies, if I want to go to the mall, anything like that. If I want to go to the Dallas Mavericks game, right? Like I was blessed to do, we were blessed to do on Christmas Day. It was fantastic, right? But if I want to do anything like that, I have to schedule it in advance and get approval, like written schedule. Matter of fact, one second. Where's my schedule at? Here it is. Oh. You see this? That's what I have to do. That's every day of the week. It has the time out, the time that I leave the house, and the time that I'm going to be back in the house. All right. The address. If I want to go to Walmart, I got to Google the Walmart that I'm going to go to and write the address, the physical address on this list, on this schedule. And my PO approves it, and then he takes it to his supervisor, and his supervisor has to sign off on it. Only then am I allowed to do anything. Okay. In emergency situations, or it doesn't necessarily have to be an emergency, but if something legitimate comes up during the course of the week and I need to alter my schedule in order to be able to go somewhere else, I have to text. Everything needs to be in writing at all times. So a phone call is not good enough. Text, get it in writing. This is what's going on. May I have permission to go over here for this reason? And he'll text back, approved, right? Always have that in writing. A phone call, while it may be more direct, sometimes it might be quicker. You need to always cover yourself because they randomly change your parole officers. Yes. I could have a different parole officer when I go in next time. There's no telling. That's kind of random. And, this guy might not tell the next lady, what all's going on or all the details of the matter. So you always have to cover yourself. Be safe. Move safe, right? Yep. But
so Outspoken wants to know what's the hardest thing or behavior that has been the hard. Okay, what is the hardest thing, behavior, or think that was the hardest to overcome in the first 30 days out?
My first week out, like every single day. And for the first couple of days, remember, I didn't start going to work. I got hired on my 8th day out. So for my first 8 days or 7 days before I started work, I'd be home alone and I'm thinking about all these things that I need to do. Like, okay, I'm starting my life out. You understand me? When I walked out of prison, I did not own a single thing in the entire world except for the one set of clothes I walked out wearing on my back. That was it. I'm talking ground zero. Okay. 42 years old. It's go time. And so, but I've made plans. I'm not overwhelmed. Okay. This is what it is. This is what I need to do. And this is how I'm going to do it. Very logical person, very goal oriented, short-term goals leading into long-term goals, so on and so forth. So, but that first week I would just overthink and my brain would just be grinding so much. I'd get hit every single day. Sometime during the course of the day, I would get hit with a wave of anxiety. I'm like a lot, like a spike. And it would almost be incapacitating. I just I'd have to stop and breathe for a minute and just kind of start over. Okay, what do you need to be doing right now? Let's do something. You're doing too much thinking and not enough doing. And it was bad. And I've never had anxiety before. I've never been that guy. But
yeah,
I
we've
dealt
had
with
many
that.
people that watched last week comment or message and ask, hey, how did he really deal with it? What's the coping mechanisms for it? And it's funny because I'll share something with you guys. I'm the one that has anxiety really, really bad. And this man right here knows how to stop it in my tracks. It's kind of crazy. So,
yeah. Well, for me, and I don't know how many people this will apply to because, I've been raised in an abnormal environment. I've had to deal with things in mostly an abnormal way, probably. But for me, I've learned to discipline my mind. One of the best ways to learn mental discipline is to practice meditation. And I got to admit, I'm not very good at meditation. It is extremely hard, to tell you the truth. And, there's more to that. But even though I'm not good at meditation properly, it did still teach me mental discipline and how to stop my mind and just freeze, stop right there, just stop, cut it out, take some deep breaths. I like the phrase, the quote. I'm real big on quotes. Breathe in the future, breathe out the past. Breathe in the future, breathe out the past. Calm yourself. Okay. Never panic. Okay. Panic is never the solution. Panic shuts your mind down. And if you can't use your mind, you can't do nothing. Okay. This is your driver's seat. That's another thing. Most people will never see this tattoo because I didn't get it for show. But if you can see right here on the inside of my hand, right?
Turn it down a little bit. Other way. Go up. Yep. Go up.
I'm there trying. You go. Okay. Watch your thoughts. Okay.
Yep.
It says, watch your thoughts. And like I said, most people will never see it. It faces me. That's like my personal reminder whenever I get to tripping up here in my mind. It's the beginning of a quote. I'm sure many of you have probably heard it. It says, watch your thoughts. They become your words. Watch your words. They become your actions. Watch your actions, for they become your character or your reputation. And watch your character and reputation, for that becomes your destiny. But it all starts right here. What are you entertaining right here in your mind at any given point in time? We all go down rabbit holes and chase tangents, and your mind talks a lot of smack about this person and that person and whoever you're irritated or aggravated with at the moment. But it should never go too far. The more you think about something, whatever the thought may be, good, bad, or ugly, the more you think about it, the more you dwell on it, the more power and influence that you give it over yourself. Just like it says, watch your thoughts. They become your words. Before you know it, you just pop off and something comes out of your mouth that, if you would have thought better about it, you wish you wouldn't have said it out loud. But you've been harboring it, nurturing it in your mind for so long, it's naturally going to progress to that next step. Right. So to return to dealing with my anxiety, I've learned some mental discipline. When I feel myself start blood pressure rising, tension rising, I'll just stop and I'll force myself to be calm. Take deep breaths. get your mind to stop. And then one thing that helps me a lot is I like to exercise. I've been exercising all my life. It's one of my biggest stress and tension outlets that I have. So I exercise and I get a lot of that nervous energy, that stress, that tension, anxiety, whatever the case may be, anger. I used to deal with anger issues really bad. I finally, so thankful, finally got a handle on my anger, because I used to hear probably more than anything else I heard in my life, man, are you ever going to learn to think before you react? And
Right.
up until I was about 32, somewhere right in there, the answer seemed to be no. I mean, so many times I'd be sitting in a lockup cell with my head in my hands, like, Shannon, oh my God, here we are again, man. Really? I got to start all over again from square one, all because you gave in to an emotion, and men on the inside, remember, on the inside, it's all about strength, all about being tough and macho and this, that, and the other, whatever, right? That vein. So, if you give into emotion, man, that's considered weak-minded. You should never allow, first and foremost, there's nothing wrong with emotions. I used to tell my guys this that I mentored on the inside. There's absolutely nothing wrong with having emotions. A matter of fact, you need them. They are healthy, and they actually help to enrich your everyday experiences in life, right? But that being said, your emotions can't think for themselves.
Right.
They don't have no intelligence, no self-conscious awareness. They need you to think and drive for them. And that's where logic and reason come into play. Logic should always be behind the steering wheel. So I've trained myself this way for over 20 years, educating myself, training my memory to retain knowledge, because at first it wouldn't, it was a process, and I learned.
Did you ever do like cognitive behavioral therapy? Did that help you at all?
Yes, I actually really enjoyed reading up on cognitive behavioral therapy. I forget exactly how they put it so succinctly, but something along the lines of, if you change the belief, then you will change the thought pattern and the emotional reaction that comes along with whenever you feel like that belief has been violated.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of self-analysis and analyzing what your actual principles really are. What is it that you value? And do you really value that, or should you really value that? Because a lot of people, it just becomes habit, right?
Yep. For me, I took years of it. I still actually practice it. It taught me how to quit thinking emotionally and think logically.
Absolutely.
And stop attacking the feeling and just thinking at it from an actual smart point of view, basically.
Absolutely. And that's great. That's exactly what we need. Like I said, nothing wrong with your emotions, with having feelings and emotions. They're great. Like I said, they enrich our experience of life itself, but they should never be behind the driving wheel. We almost always regret that, right? Anytime we allow emotion to take control, we end up regretting it.
Yep.
So,
Outspoken Plus Challenge. Send one book to your loved one this week on DBT. I'm going to say DBT or CBT, skills building. So for everybody out there listening, trust us. It's life-changing. It's life-changing.
It is powerful. I want to say, don't quote me, but I want to say the man that developed it is named Aaron Beck. Pretty sure.
I believe that's right. Yes. Didn't we look that up last night? I think so.
Yeah. Aaron Beck. Yes. Very good stuff. Like I said, powerful. Has the ability to change your life, the way that you deal with events. So to circle back, after that first week of dealing with that wave, that daily wave of anxiety, I started working and it slowly started tapering off. I still get anxiety, but it's low level now, like maybe a 3, on a scale of 10, maybe a 3. So, but I've also started getting into a routine. I'm into a routine now. I do, I work, I'm home about once every 10 days or so. I'll go to Walmart or the dollar stores or whatever I need to do. I do a lot of my shopping online, and just have it delivered. That's been it's really kind of been a blessing. And I guess that's just this modern day world, right? That's how people do stuff.
Shelly, DBT is dialectical behavioral therapy, and CBT is cognitive behavioral therapy. There you go. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I didn't want comments to blow up when I miss it.
No, you're good. Absolutely. Thank y'all for asking questions. We appreciate it. So that's actually something that leads into my next point. After that first week, my anxiety started to taper off and die down a lot. Didn't go away because everything was so new to me. And for me, the main source of pressure was thinking about all the things that I need to do or that I should be doing in order to create and build a life for myself and to be able to give myself every possible advantage that I can give myself to be successful, right? Because I'm not ever going back to prison. Okay. That's just, I mean, not for anything that I do. I don't have that type of mentality anymore. There's just no interest in none of that type of activity. There's nothing that I would do that has the potential to send me back. You know, I broke my addiction before I ever got out of prison, which was traumatic, you know, but a blessing. I survived. A lot of people don't. You hear Ashleen tell you all the time, what we have 4 overdoses this week, just this week.
Like in 2 days?
The last 2 days, you know, and 2 or 3 of these guys are going out of their mind and diving off of 2 and 3 row. Okay. It's insane, but the drugs make you insane. And what I've noticed on the inside is the worst drug of all, Miss K2 Queen, is K2. It is completely, like literally without exaggerating, K2 has changed the prison system. The entire state of Texas, it has changed prison. Okay. And what I mean by that is I'm guesstimating, but plenty of people agree with me. Being conservative, okay, probably 75% of the population in TDCJ is smoking K2.
Or has at least tried it once.
Yes, probably, at the very least.
Probably at the very least.
Yes, and like I say, that's being conservative. As crazy as that sounds, I mean, so many units, you walk into a unit and the whole unit smells like burnt toilet paper. And that's what they, you pop an electrical socket, they roll up toilet paper and make what they call a wick, and they light the wick on fire. Then they light their joints or what they call sticks off of the wick. So the whole unit smells like burnt toilet paper.
Heather's asking, what would you say helps you get the mindset of not ever wanting to come back and get away from that stuff and get better? It was kind of forced, wasn't it?
Well, the break with the addiction was, yes, but the attitude of never going back again. I mean, I don't know how else to say. 25 years is enough. Okay. I mean, that's way more than most people survive, right? You know, whether physically or mentally, they either come out institutionalized and cannot fend for themselves out here, or they die, or they become cripples, or they come out missing all their teeth and scarred up. And I mean, you name it, man. I survived. Okay. And I love life. I appreciate life. Matter of fact, one of my favorite quotes is love life. The more you love life, the more life will love you back. And I believe that with every fiber of my being. You know, that's another thing I wanted to talk about tonight is never losing the perspective of where we've been. No, you don't want to live in the past. Okay. There's a difference. I don't live in the past, but there's no way I'll ever forget it, you know?
Right.
And particularly for me, I will always remember, I spent over 8 years, something like 8.5 years in administrative segregation. Okay. And I will never forget having to roll my mattress up and put it on top of my bunk and stand on top of it just so I could pull myself up and look out of this little 3-inch slit of a window at the top of the wall and see the world out there. And it's a dirty window, but I'm looking, and I remember thinking, like, man, I just wish, I want so bad just to be able to reach down and feel the grass, because my entire world consists of concrete and metal.
Right.
Okay, that's it. Everything. I just want to feel the grass. And then I get the thought, no, man, you know what would be amazing? What would be so awesome? If I could just walk in the grass barefooted. Man, that would be awesome. I would love
So
that so
Heather
much.
that asked that question, she said the reason she's asking is because she's an officer who wants to gain some perspective and how to actually make a difference. So what advice did you give her as an officer to help out?
Some of the best advice I was ever given was, you have to always remember life does not stop at that fence, bro. Okay. In many ways, in most ways, that is where life begins at. Yes, we have to learn the ways of the inside. We have to familiarize ourselves with the culture, the politics, everything that is necessary to survive in here. But never think that this is it. All right. And never believe, or never think that this is normal. This in here and the things that we do on the inside, everything that's happening and going on around you, this is not considered normal in society. This is not how people live out there. This is not how people on the outside interact with each other. Okay.
So how can an officer's perspective help that?
If they're able to talk to them, and the only way that usually happens is if they get a one-on-one in the D space or something like that. I understand when you're walking the wings, when you're inside of a wing, you're not really able to have any type of real conversation. If you talk to an inmate, you got to keep it short, or somebody's going to accuse you of having an inappropriate relationship or something. So it has to be brief, right? So it has to be something brief, but just a reminder, like, hey man, this ain't all there's ever going to be, right? Life doesn't stop at that fence, right? How you doing today? Are you thinking about your future? And a lot of guys will be like, man, that's too far away, man. I still got 10 years before I come up for parole. All right, but don't forget, you are going to come up for parole. You are going to make it. You are going to live to see the day that you step outside of this place. Never lose sight of that. Even if you have to deal with this on a daily basis, never lose sight of that. Okay. And it also lets them know that somebody actually cares to one extent or another, right? That somebody actually gives a heck, and that means something. An inmate, will respect to a dramatic degree an officer who actually shows him some type of humanity, shows him something other than a cold face and a rule book, right? Or a reprimand or a cell search or, all that. So,
I will have to say that I went to graduation at the Torres unit, and there was a female officer by the name of Jackson. That was probably one of the most amazing people I've ever met.
I know her personally.
Absolutely wonderful.
Yes.
And she spoke to everybody like they were family to her, and she just the utmost respect. And I think if a lot of officers would just speak to everybody else the way they want to be spoken to, so much can change. But you got some of them sipping the Kool-Aid, and they just can't do that yet. So
she's a happy person, generally.
Amazing.
And she shares that with a lot of people. I spoke to her quite a lot, to tell you the truth. I know her personally, and she's seen me do bad and she's seen me do good. And when I was struggling with the parole board, trying to get released as I should have been released, but they didn't release me when they were supposed to, every time she'd see me, she'd ask me what was going on, why are you still here?
Well, so props to that officer. Yes. She's amazing. You guys take care of her over there because she's cool. Yeah. Great. She did this mama a real huge favor while I was there. Nothing out of her job or anything, but it was good. Yes. It was cool.
And that makes all the difference in the world. A lot of the officers that go to work and they're just mean all the time, they just seem like angry, like probably maybe bitter or something, right? And that's more a reflection of them than anybody that they're dealing with, like whatever you're angry with your life about or disappointed with your life about, man, please don't come to work and take it out on us. Right. I didn't make your life choices or decisions for you, but it seems to happen quite a bit, And so, yeah, that's another thing that we deal with every day on the inside. People, they come and they have this authority, and they just come in there and they take it out on us.
All right. So I guess my last question for you tonight is, in your opinion, being that you've been on the inside for a long time, how important is advocacy? Because we get beat up all the time by the system and families and inmates. And how important was it in your experience?
Well, let's put it this way. I might still be in prison right now if it wasn't for advocacy. And that's a real statement. Because as I said, I should have been released before they ever actually released me. Right. I had a 2-year sentence tacked on to my original 35-year sentence. So I had to make parole on the 35-year sentence, which I finally did after 22 and a half years, right? After a 3-year set off and a 2-year set off and having to hire a parole attorney. And I finally made parole on it, started this 2-year sentence, and they made me do every single day of the 2. I discharged the 2 day for day in August. Okay. That sentence was discharged 100%. But did they release me? No, they didn't release me for 3 more months, and nobody would give me any answers. They didn't know anything. The parole representative on the unit, him or her, whoever it may be, they don't know anything. They're the lowest rung on the ladder. Oftentimes they've only been a parole representative for months, not years, and they don't get a lot of information. Their job is to verify your address. Where are you planning to go when you get out? Do you have a phone number? Do you want to turn in a parole packet? Just a lot of simple, basic, standard stuff like that. And anything beyond that, they don't know. And
it's not their job to know, to be honest with you.
Right. I was going to say, it doesn't do no good to get mad at them for not knowing. It's not their fault, But so I had the good fortune of having an advocate who chose to take up my case and called the parole board repeatedly, almost on a daily basis for weeks, which turned into months. And then eventually got the ombudsman involved. And once the ombudsman took up the case, things finally started happening. And that's when they released me in November, right? Before my next speed bump. Yes. But so that is all. Yeah, that's a terrible scenario. I hate even thinking about that. But without prison advocacy, I might still be in there today. And can you even begin to imagine, after doing so much time, and I discharged my sentence, and I'm like, every day I'm like, I'm tripping. I'm like, man, I'm literally as inane as it sounds, man, I'm not supposed to be here, and I did my time. I did it. I'm done. Why am I still here day after day?
It was a real daily struggle for months, for sure.
Oh my God. Yeah, sure. It was hard. It was so
from
hard.
The inmate side of things, though, like, let's say not parole experience.
Yes.
What did advocates do for you guys? Did you see a lot of change on the inside? What's the mentality towards advocates from the inmate side of things?
Suppose it would depend on the inmate. A lot of the guys that are immature and still, in the thick of the gang life and wanting to be a hustler and a drug dealer, or, they're too deep in their addiction or whatever, for them, they probably couldn't care less. It's not on their radar at all. But for anybody who is actually trying to grow as a person, trying to be better than what they've been in the past, the people that are thinking like, man, I don't like this, so I don't never want to come back here. What do I need to do? What do I need to change about my life to ensure that I don't never have to do this again? For those people, oh man, it's like water in the desert. That it's nourishing to the soul to find out that there's actually help out there, that there's actually people who care and people who are willing to sacrifice their time and their effort, not to mention so much stress and aggravation, dealing with this bureaucracy which is so roundabout and gives you the runaround and sends you in circles after circles, until it's so hard to pin them down. But
well, Tanya wants to
out,
know, do you guys even know that advocates are available?
No.
Does the system even know?
No. To a very large extent, no. We do not know.
They probably know more so from family members, you think? Because it's really only gotten, I guess you could say, more in the norm. I guess the last 2 to 3 years, it's kind of taken, and the social media has kind of amplified it as well. But
we don't have the social media on the inside, so
correct.
I mean, family members would be able to find out via social media. On the inside, it has to be word of mouth, and it's usually one inmate to another inmate, and you'd be surprised, how far something like that can travel, especially on the inside. But yes, word of mouth is the best means of transportation for such knowledge right now. And again, that's kind of limited when you're looking at the big picture.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But, so yeah, I never really heard much about advocates and advocacy. I would have thought, like, what are you talking about? Like volunteers that come in with the different programs and such. But no, there's a difference. There's a big difference. But no, the knowledge is still very limited today. I was just lucky enough to meet the son of an advocate, and that's how I became aware that this even existed in the first place.
Good deal. You got anything else for us tonight?
Yes, a couple of things. Like I said, I'm happy and thrilled. I've hit my first milestone, 30 days free. Ecstatic about it. But aside from what I've already said about it, some of the most pivotal things for an inmate coming out of prison, probably regardless of how much time he does or her. One, you need stable housing. Halfway houses are pretty horrible, to be honest. The state-owned, state-operated halfway houses, everybody considers them dope houses. Okay,
they are.
We call them trap houses, right?
They are.
There's all kinds of drugs in there, and it's a horrible environment. You might get robbed, stolen from. I mean, you name it. It's just not a healthy place to be. Okay, if you ain't got no other choice, you don't have no other choice. You have to deal with it. But if there's any other choice, the first thing you need, or the first thing you need to obtain, is some type of stable living environment. Whether it's by yourself, with others, it doesn't matter. You have to have a place that you can go and find sanctuary on a daily basis. Okay. The second biggest thing, and this is like neck and neck, employment. Employment is huge for several different reasons. Obviously, you need a source of income. Most people on the inside, not all, unfortunately, but most, will say that it doesn't matter what I get a job at doing when I first get out. I don't care if it's McDonald's, okay? Whatever the case may be, you need a paycheck, okay? You need a paycheck. You need some type of financial income for everything in life. There's nothing free out here, very little, so you need a paycheck. You need a job. That's why I was so grateful that I got a job through a friend of mine, working industrial maintenance. And like I said, I love it. And it also pays the bills. So you need a job in order to feel secure with having an income, whether you get paid weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, it doesn't matter. Knowing that you have a source of income, okay, is going to be a big stress reliever, a big anxiety relief. Okay. I got money coming in. I may not have much right now. I may not have enough, for this, for that, or whatever, but slowly but surely, I have like 3 pairs of work pants right now. That's it. A couple of other pairs of sweats or something. I'm very, very slowly having to build up everything, the practicalities. I had to buy hygiene, anything you can imagine, fingernail clippers, okay, a cup to drink out of. I had to, slowly acquire everything, 1 or 2 things at a time. And I'm far from, being able to furnish an apartment or anything, but
Yes, Jay, there
Baby
are
steps.
government resources out there that do help. That is a very good point. You
Yes,
talked about food stamps and insurance. Yes, for sure. And as a returning citizen, you automatically do qualify for food stamps.
yes,
So
emergency food stamps. They'll give
always,
you 90 days automatic.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes, we will.
As far as employment, if you are having a hard time finding something available, if they're checking your record too much or whatever the case may be, or you're covered in tattoos and they just see the penitentiary upon you, then there's a couple of places that I'm aware of. One, many people are familiar with the Texas Workforce Commission.
Mhm.
I haven't used them myself, but from others that I know that have, they will help you get employment. Oftentimes it's temp jobs. You'll be a temporary employee doing whatever it is that you end up doing. But even that is an opportunity. If you show up and you shine and you don't never stand around even when there's nothing to do, but you find something to do, if you have a good work ethic, then it's going to show, and it's going to increase your odds of getting permanent work, or somebody else noticing you and like pulling you to the side like, hey, are you interested in this? Opportunity will present if you just work for it. Okay.
Right.
Like I said before, all you can do is your part. You can't do nobody else's part for them, but it's on each one of us to give ourselves the best chances that we can give ourselves. Right. So
Right.
there's the Texas Workforce Commission. Another apparently good one that I also became aware of. They have some videos on the tablets on the inside about them. They're based in Dallas, but they cover a lot of the surrounding areas around Dallas as well. I don't believe they cover the whole state, though, just the surrounding the Dallas area from my awareness. They're called unlockingdoors.org. And the lady that runs it, I believe her last name is Crane. The female unit, the Crane unit is named after her. She's been on the board of TDCJ before that, so on and so forth, has a lot of background. They label themselves as job brokers. Okay. They're tied in with all of the businesses and industries in the area, and they're aware of whatever the employment needs of these places are, almost like a staffing agency, right?
Right.
And inmates can, recently returning inmates can call, they'll set up an appointment. I got a friend of mine who's going for a physical appointment with these people on the 22nd. You go in, they basically do a resume with you, and they not to send it out, but just to get an idea, like, what are your job skills? What is it that you have some experience doing? And they're going to work with that, and they're going to find you a job. And from what I have heard, they're going to find you a job in pretty short order, like week or two is what I've been told, a week or two, and they got you. Okay. They also offer other resources, but I'm not as familiar with those. The main thing that I was looking into with them was employment. Okay. So there's other agencies that will help out as well, right? If you can't land one on your own, or if you don't know somebody that can get you in somewhere, because that's how many things happen these days as well. So, okay, employment is huge. Another big thing about employment, when you have a job, a steady job, your parole officer is going to get off of you to a large extent. They're going to ease up on you because they don't have to worry about, okay, what is this guy doing for money? How is he feeding himself? How is he paying his bills? How is he walking in here with this gold chain on his neck and that fancy watch and those brand new Air Max, but he don't have a job? How's that work out? Right? So when you have a job, that's a relief to them as well. And they will ease up on you quite a bit at that point. I've experienced that myself. I'm only 30 days out. I'm blessed in a lot of regards, and my PO has not really hounded me that much, mainly because I'm working. I've sent him a picture of my first 2 paychecks, so he can see and confirm, and it's been great. We're rolling along. We're developing a pretty decent relationship. Next, housing, job, transportation. Okay. Transportation is the next big one. You need to be able to get up there so you can get that paycheck, right? That's big. You know, I was dependent and sometimes still am dependent on Uber and Lyft. And man, that adds up quick. That stuff was mowing me down. Okay. I
Now, let me
spent
ask
like,
you this, because I know we're running into this with the several parolees.
okay.
Some people are getting stipulations on their parole that they're not allowed to get their license back without petitioning it from the parole board. And then they go to parole board and they go to the parole officers and they say, don't even worry about it. Don't even try because it's just going to be denied. But that's kind of against the civil right kind of thing. So, you know, I'm wondering how common that is. Does anybody out there, do y'all know how common it is that guys on parole are being denied their driver's license or being told that that's a stipulation on their parole that they can't drive themselves?
I could only imagine that applying.
And you know who I'm talking about. That's one of them. I've heard it.
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
I've heard it a couple times. I mean, he's not the first.
I only know one guy dealing with it right now personally, but I can only imagine that such stipulations might only exist for guys with multiple DUIs, something like that. But maybe not. I'm just thinking out loud here. I can see
I've
that.
got a couple of them that don't even have alcohol or drug cases. That's just their stipulation. So I mean, I don't. That's what I'm wondering is what's the difference? You know, I have no idea.
Yeah, how would they justify that?
Right.
Because for myself, I haven't tried for my driver's license yet. I'm going to take the written portion of it before this month is over, and then I have to schedule a driving session, right? A driving test. For myself, I've never had a driver's license in my entire life yet. So I'm trying to save money to get transportation because right now I'm carpooling and I'm blessed to be able to do so because like I said, Uber and Lyft were mowing me down. And so I got to go get my driver's license. And then I have to, simultaneously, I have my eyes peeled for, some type of vehicle, just something that's going to be reliable. I got a buddy who's a mechanic that he's going to check it out, whatever it is, before I buy it.
Anybody knows anything, hit us up.
Yes, I need a ride. It ain't got to be nothing fancy, but it needs to be reliable. So that's a big one. You got to be able to get to work in order to earn that paycheck, to pay for the housing, food, everything else that you're going to need in life. Okay. So housing, job, transportation, and then last, but definitely not least, not even really last, but last for right now, the big ones, your circle of influence. Okay. That cannot be overstated how important that is. Some people refer to it as a circle of accountability. The 4 or 5 people that you associate with the most, that you consider your friends, or even if they're not friends, they might be a mentor, somebody you consider a mentor, somebody that you respect. You respect where they're at in their life and what they've had to do to get there. Okay. That's true respect, not penitentiary respect. Penitentiary respect is predicated upon fear of consequences. True respect is something earned, something that you admire about somebody. But be that as it may, your circle of influence, the top 4 or 5 people that you associate with, you need to have a couple of people that you can be totally open and honest with. Tell them what you're thinking and how you're feeling, right? Don't be embarrassed. Don't hold back. Somebody that you can be comfortable with, somebody that you can trust, and preferably at least 3 of these people, so that you can get different perspectives on stuff. And like I said, that's going to be your sounding board. Not only that, to help you stay straight and steady in your own mind and in your own walk, but at the same time, as they say, you are your friends. Doesn't matter if you like it or not, if you agree with it or not, it really doesn't matter. The fact of the matter is you are your friends. You can look at the 4 or 5 people that you associate with the most, and you're going to be a direct reflection of that to a very, very high extent, a very high degree. Okay. That's just facts these days. I remember as a kid, I used to struggle and argue against that. I couldn't stand it. Don't blame my friends for what I did. It's not their fault. I did that. I remember making those arguments.
Or they did it. I didn't. It's their fault.
Right. And then all these years later, I know better. And I was like, man, my dad was right. I just was hard-headed. I was being stubborn, right? So you need good friends, okay? I have a zero tolerance policy. Anybody who calls themselves my friend, my buddy, my associate, anybody that I mess with on a personal level, man, they got like one chance. You ever bring something around me that is going to put my freedom at risk, dude, you're done, bro. You're dead to me. You know what I'm saying? I'll cut you off in a heartbeat. Do not ever come back around. Do not call me, dude. No, because you obviously do not care about me, okay? You don't care about my life. You know how long I just did in prison. For you to put me at risk like that, that tells me all I need to know. I don't care what you're talking about. I don't want to hear your excuses, your sad stories, or none of that. Get away from me. Leave now.
Right.
Zero tolerance. And you have to be that way. I don't care if it's somebody that you love, okay? And that's kind of hard. But at some point, in certain matters, you have to put yourself first, okay? This is my life we're talking about here. And not just a day of it. We're talking about years, okay? Maybe decades. No, absolutely not. I refuse to tolerate it, okay? And you have to draw a hard line like that. So
boundaries, guys, boundaries. You have to have solid boundaries.
Those are the things that I've discovered firsthand that have been most important for me to stay 100%. On the straight and narrow, to keep my mind and my heart right, to keep my walk straight. Okay. What else I have here? Oh, and like I said,
real quick, because it's been a minute, but Eddie asked, what do I think about the CDO situation going on right now? Okay. So you probably don't know about this. You know what CDO is, obviously, but we've got a huge issue with inmates and CDO and officers just walking away, and then people are committing suicide and nothing's happening to them. I think it's absolutely disgusting. I think that it's automatic termination, but it's not happening. I would even go as far as to say there could be criminal liability held because you're not doing your job. And if you didn't do your job and somebody kills themselves, I just think that's on you.
There's a charge called criminal negligent homicide that comes to mind, and that ought to be able to apply.
I agree. I agree.
Yes. Yeah, that's a terrible situation. Perspective. I mentioned earlier about looking out the seg window, wanting to walk barefoot in the grass and stuff. Never forget where you have been, so you can always appreciate where you're at. That's the point I wanted to make. Love life, love it with every fiber of your being. Celebrate your self-aware, alive consciousness every single day, and that's something to hold on to, no matter how bad or hard the circumstances get. Man, just love life and be grateful. Cultivate that attitude of gratitude. Okay. And it just really enriches your life. It makes you such a happier person.
Perception is reality for a lot of people.
Yes. And who wants to be mad or bitter all the time, or, stressed out, depressed, any of that? I got tired of being mad. I was sick of being mad all the time. That wasn't fun. It wasn't enjoyable. I mean, it gave me an ulcer at one point, stress, tension, seg, only medical problem I ever had, more or less. But no, that ain't no fun. So if it ain't no fun, man, why keep doing it? You have to just make a decision at some point. Like, man, this has got to change. Okay. And if this has got to change, then how do I go about changing it? So then there's that.
All right. You want to close with anything tonight? Didn't you want to read something?
You know what? Thank you. Okay. So I told y'all I'm celebrating 30 days of freedom right now, right? I got a poem. I told y'all that I learned how to express myself in poetry. And I have a poem I wrote in 2017. I've never been released from prison. Remember, I did pretty much a solid 25 years, like 3 months shy of it. Okay. But just all the people that I would meet that are back on their second, third, fourth trip down, right? And I've been here the whole time. You know, there's one guy, I met him all 3 times that he came down to prison. You know, it's insane, right? How that made me feel. Like, I've been here the whole time. You've been out 2 times already and still coming back. But anyway, all the stories of the struggles for a convict on the outside, right? Hearing all of them, I wrote a poem about it. It's called Life After Prison. So this is kind of what I thought about how it was going to be getting out. And then I've described to y'all tonight how it's actually been, which not too far difference, but you'll see the discrepancies. It's called Life After Prison, a Convict's Stigmata. It says, freedom is so sweet, like a breath of fresh air. You want to do everything, see everyone, go everywhere. At first, you're so happy, like getting back a missing limb. That's before you see the shears, before that freedom they start to trim. In the beginning, you don't notice, but then you need a job. They want you to check that box, perhaps tell them of who you robbed. Application after application then goes unheeded till optimism hits the grave and you're convinced they don't even read it. Okay, we'll take a break, maybe travel or go on a cruiser. Only then we find out all the bans and restrictions on a loser. We don't want you in our country. No, you can't visit here. When you're denied at every turn, the obvious becomes clear. They call a convict a loser, just another barrier saying we can't win. It's like they smell the prison upon us, maybe see it upon our skin. This is the stain we carry, stigmata to my last day. With so many odds against us, recidivism still holds sway. And God forbid you ever get pulled over with family or with friends. Then you'll truly begin to wonder if this nightmare ever ends. Out of the car, on your knees, hands behind your head, till you're ate up with such embarrassment that you'll wish that you were dead. But despite all these problems, dire as they may be, this is the baggage necessary for a convict to be free. Right and wrong don't matter. Who said that life was fair? At the end of the day, the question is, would you rather be here or there? Here with a celly that smells, or laid up with a girl in bells? In here eating food that sucks, or out there driving big trucks? In here where men act like boys, or out there buying your kids toys? In here while your loved ones die and pass away, or there where you can share some of those remaining days? So F the odds against us, let them stack the deck. Nothing in life is easy, just struggle not to wreck. Through struggle and perseverance, forward we may drive. One day we'll leave this dumpster, so long as we survive. So gird yourself for battle, because every day it's war. Now's the time to strengthen ourselves, to become so much more. Freedom is not so free. Much of our life will be restricted, but we'll take what we can get under the stigmata of the convicted.
Good deal.
So those were all the stories I heard of the struggles that people were dealing with on the outside. And some of it I've experienced, some of it I haven't. But like I said, at the end of the day, the question is, would you rather be here or there? Speaking for myself, I'm happy to be here. I'm starting to live my dream. I had visions, really dreams, of being able to do this before I got out. And here I am. We're off to a great start. And I love and appreciate all of y'all that are subscribing, that are following us, that are hitting the likes on the screen. Man, I mean, it just really sings to my soul.
Share, guys, share. So we're actually working on another channel that's going to be it's supplementing to this one for more of like his personal, day-to-day inside stories to keep separate from our advocacy channel. So that'll be coming out soon. The goal is for me to move up to Dallas at some point so that we can have an office and a studio and actually make this a business where we can go nationwide and do some program writing, do some motivational speaking, publish 2 books that he has written. So that's the ultimate goal, guys. But we will forever be on this page. This is our home.
Yes, absolutely.
This is where our heart lies with advocacy. So every week until we just can't do it anymore. For whatever reason, we will be here Thursdays at 7 p.m.
Every Thursday, y'all.
Every Thursday. And pretty soon we're going to be adding some panels with, I've got a panel of a retired officer that's going to join us, some more advocates, some more inmates. It's going to get interesting.
We want to be able to give y'all multiple perspectives on all of the hot issues that we're dealing with and that our loved ones are dealing with on the inside, day to day, week to week, month to month. Be able to give you almost 360, perspectives from all angles. Yes.
Yeah. So if you guys want to start sending in questions, either to my Facebook page or his Facebook page, or the Transparency Project, whatever, or just comment on underneath these videos, we can start, we're looking for some more show ideas, besides just the typical news that we can play off of for an hour and a half, obviously. But, send in some questions. We'll see what we can start drumming up for you guys and putting some different people into play with it, because I already have some inmates lined up, or 4 more inmates lined up that want to come on and tell their stories as well. A couple officers, one I'm super excited about. So y'all will be excited too.
Yes.
Yep.
It gets real interesting.
It does, y'all. All right. Thanks for tuning in. We will be back next Thursday. We love you guys.
Love you.
Have a good night.
Good night.